Hey guys, LevelCap here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the M16A3 after patch. A lot of you guys have been asking me to do a review on the M16, talk about how the recoil change has affected it. Is it still good? Is it still competitive with some of the other awesome assault rifles out there? Well, that's what we're going to clear up today. Now, first of all, it's important to note that the nerf to the M16 was very slight. The entire thing that they changed with the M16A3, they didn't touch the recoil, they didn't change the cone of fire, they didn't change the rate of fire, the damage, anything like that. They gave it a recoil adjustment, and before the M16A3 had a left pull of 0.1 and a right pull of 0.3. All they did was they changed the right pull to 0.4, so it pulls to the right a little bit more, making range shots a little bit harder to pull off, which actually is, I think it's the perfect amount of tweaking, because before the M16A3 was pretty darn accurate at long range. This just pulls it a little bit more so that those long range shots are just not quite as accurate. There's a little bit more kick to compensate for, and they also increased the vertical recoil from 0.25 to 0.26, extremely minor adjustment in that department. I'm not even sure I really noticed it. I do notice the side-to-side pull a little bit, but the gun is still very, very much a player. It's very effective. I would not underestimate it at long range anyway. Now, to really gauge the M16A3 and where it stands in comparison to the other assault rifles, I was switching back and forth between the M416 and the M16A3, and there was definitely some moments with the M416 where I was just like, man, if I had the M16, I probably would have dropped that guy faster. You do not want to underestimate that higher rate of fire, the 800 rounds per minute. M416 750 RPM, M16A3 800 RPM, and then the AEK is 900 RPM. Those rates of fire are just so incredibly important because players are getting better at this game. There's a lot of really skilled players out there. Often when you turn a corner and you both have the same skills or the same reaction time, you know each other are there and you just open up, start firing. The person with the faster rate of fire will often win that fight. Now, accuracy is great for long range, but in medium range engagements, you really want a faster firing weapon. In those long range engagements, you can still lose in an M416 fight against an AEK at long range if the person really knows how to control that recoil and you slip up just a little. That AEK can definitely take you down. But as you can see here, I am just dominating with the M16A3. Even at long ranges, medium ranges, it's still very comfortable. I'm still very familiar with the recoil of the gun. It just pulls a tiny bit more to the right, and it honestly took me a few minutes to get used to it and just compensate for it, and now I'm just back to enjoying the good old M16A3. Now, I for one am a big fan of this change, the nerf to the M16A3, because it really does put the M16A3 right in the middle of the pack. It's not the ultimate long-range weapon because the right pull increase has just reduced its accuracy and effectiveness at long range enough for other weapons like the M416 or the Scar L to sort of slip ahead and take over in the long range department, be more effective than the M16. And it was never the best at close range. The AEK was always better. The F2000 was an interesting alternative as well, but the AEK got a nice reload increase, so now it is clearly not as effective as an AEK in close quarters. So it really does have its very specific area of being great at medium range and not better than any other gun in long range or close quarters. I think this change really shows that DICE understands weapon balance. Now, that's not to say that every gun in this game has a specific role that it can really excel at. There are some guns that just kind of suck and don't perform well on the field or don't really have much of a place. But with the big players, DICE has really balanced them so well. There's plenty of games out there where there's just a clear winner of a gun. You know, Bad Company 2, the M60 was disgustingly good. In competitive play, it was banned because it was just too good of a weapon, you know, and that happens a lot in games that are played competitively because the designers don't really balance the guns well enough. They have to outlaw certain weapons from tournaments just so there can be some variety and not everybody running with the exact same weapon. And I will say this for sure, when we're playing, if you just check the kill feed, people are using tons of different guns. Sure, the M416 is very popular right now because it's sort of the new one and it got a nice big bump up in effectiveness, but people are going to realize very quickly that maybe they don't want to have a gun that's extremely good at long range and just decent at medium and close quarters. You know, they're going to start switching it up a bit more. You're going to start seeing a much larger variety of weapons on the battlefield. And I'm just so happy that DICE understands this aspect of the game so well. The gunplay in Battlefield 3 is better than any other game in my opinion. I really just have not come across a game that does gun mechanics so well. And they really have the perfect engine to complement their focus on gun gameplay, because this thing can just handle bullet drops so well. The gun physics, every gun in this game fires at its realistic rate of fire. The bullet velocity is realistic as well. So when you have to lead at somebody running in the distance, that's like a real lead distance. It's very cool that DICE has kept so accurate to some of the weapons in real life and then tweak them enough in game to still make them balance and play out, because obviously in real life some guns are just going to be superior to others. You know, the kick of some guns is going to be much easier to control, but DICE has done an amazing job of keeping many of the important weapon stats accurate and still adjusting recoil and in-game stuff to still balance the guns. Now, another interesting stat about the M16A3 that a lot of people don't really pay attention to because it's one of the less popular stats to look at, but I find it really does make a big difference in weapon performance, is the actual bullet velocity. And the M16A3 has a bullet velocity of 650 meters per second. That's faster than most sniper rifles out there. And the only other assault rifles that can match it are the KH-2002, the M16A4, which is the burstfire equivalent, and then the AUG-A3. The AUG-A3 actually beats out the M16A3 by 20 meters per second, clocking in at 670 meters per second instead of 650. But that 650 means that your lead time with this weapon is lower than pretty much most of the other competitors out there. And it's interesting, especially when comparing it to something like the M416, which is a bit more accurate at long range, but you're going to have to lead a little bit more with the M416 since it only shoots at 600 meters per second. And I know it seems like, well, we're just nitpicking here. 50 meters per second isn't a big deal. Well, it actually can be. 50 meters per second means that that guy that I'm shooting at right there in the distance, I don't really have to lead very far in front of him. I can almost shoot directly at him at medium range while he's running full sprint perpendicular to me. That's a pretty cool thing, and not all guns can claim that. So in terms of wrapping things up here, I think DICE has done an excellent job with balancing the M16A3 against all the other assault rifles out there. I think they've done an excellent job of really making a lot of the other assault rifles viable alternatives and very effective in specific situations, and having just a lot of options for different kinds of playstyles, different preferences. What's unfortunate though is that I compare some of the other classes like the support class and I look at their weapons that they have available, and I just don't see them having really too many options, especially when you need to compete with something like the assault class, which has med pack, defibrillator, and some of the best guns in the game. So DICE, I agree with everything you've done on the M16A3. I think you've done a phenomenal job of balancing the assault class. But let's not stop here. Let's take it into the other classes, starting with the support class. Those machine guns just get dominated by assault rifles in every single situation. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you like the M16A3, you're still going to like it. It's just not going to be quite as lethal at long range. And I'll see you guys next time. This is LevelCap, signing off.